Welcome to the City of Cerritos Property Preservation Commission's meeting. I will now call the meeting to order. Commissioner Gentiluomo will lead us with the Pledge of Allegiance.
Please stand. Ready, begin. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Roll call, please.
Commissioner Vasan, Commissioner Gentilumo,
Present.
Commissioner Spitzer, Vice Chair Chokshi,
Here.
Chairperson Young.
Here. I understand that Commissioner Bassan will not be able to join us tonight. Is there a motion to excuse her absence?
I'll second.
Thank you. Roll call vote. Electronic vote.
4-0, the motion passes.
Thank you. At this time, I'll open the floor for public comments. If anyone's here for items that are not on tonight's meeting agenda, please come up. Not having anyone here, I will now close public comments session. Next item is the approval of minutes of last month's meeting.
I'll second.
Thank you.
Oops.
4-0, the motion passes.
Thank you. Before we get to our public hearings tonight, we have a presentation by the Public Safety Manager, Mr. Evans.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Yes, before we begin, just like to show you a brief PowerPoint presentation here. On our first slide, this is often asked, the activity level here for the code enforcement officers and how many cases are heard by the PPC, Property Preservation Commission. And you can see here that the code enforcement officers remain very busy here within the city, dealing with property preservation issues. Last year, we had 2,803 total cases or activities initiated by the code enforcement. And ultimately, pleased to report that the vast majority of the residents here work with our code enforcement officers, and only 47 cases out of 2,803 cases ended up here before you in the PPC. So I want to thank the citizens for working with the code enforcement officers. And of course, they're also experts and provide guidance and information to assist the homeowners. It's not all about bringing them before you and finding them. Our ultimate goal here is to get cooperation and help them beautify their properties and maintain their properties. So you can see those numbers reflect that the code enforcement officers are very busy and that the vast majority of the residents here cooperate, and we appreciate that. But there are some that, for whatever reason, choose not to, and those are the cases that you see before you. The next slide that we have here is a typical example of a well-maintained Cerritos home. These are the things that we look for in a house here. Well-maintained property, you don't have an expanded driveway, the paint and the roof is all in good order. This represents a typical home here in Cerritos. Here is another example of a well-maintained home here in Cerritos. The cases before you, this is a photograph that will be presented to you in one of these cases that deals with lack of vegetation, lawns, and shrubbery. You can see that in the photos here, the barren landscape there. You can also see here in this photo, we'll be talking about a home here that has the wrought iron fence in disrepair and in need of paint. In this particular one, that you can see trash cans left out in public view. As you know, that residents are required to put their trash cans up no later than the following day after trash day. Here we have a trailer that's on a parking lot that's not allowed. This is there for an extended period of time. Here is a car that appears to be inoperable. You can see the tires are flat on it and the debris around it. Can't store vehicles in your driveway. Here's another example of a violation here, the municipal code, which is storing trash and debris behind the fence that's visible to the street. You can put it there as long as you have some sort of shielding on that fence where you can't look at it. And there's various acceptable screening. Of course, code enforcement would work with the homeowner to provide them with options on what they could do. But in this case, they chose not to. And that's something that would not be allowed here in the city. And then the final thing is we've presented to you before is the workflow process to actually get a case before the property preservation, because sometimes people wonder how it is. What happens is code enforcement officer goes out, leaves a door tag that says that there's a certain deficiency in the property and requests them to address it. If there's no response, then the code enforcement officer goes back during a subsequent inspection, leaves a letter, sends a letter to the home advising them what the violation is and the desired process for repairing that. And then if there's no response, there's a second letter that's generated, same thing. And again, it goes to the home and the property owner, because sometimes it's a rental property. And then ultimately, after the third letter is sent out, if there's no response, they don't contact the code enforcement officer, we don't hear from them anyway, then we'll go ahead and write the case up and present it to you here at the Property Preservation Commission. So that is the process. That is the PowerPoint I have for you this morning. And when you're ready, we are prepared to review the cases for you this evening.
Thank you. Going to our first item, 6A. Review and consideration of a case sent before the Property Preservation Commission, conditions constituting property nuisance, including structure exteriors in need of repair and paint, trash cans stored in public view, and a lack of landscape maintenance as defined in Cerritos Municipal Code Chapter 6.20 exist at the property located on 16700 block of Sampan Circle, Cerritos. Staff report, please.
Yes, Madam Chair, that case will be presented to you by Officer Kim Ardema. Kim?
Chair and members of the Commission, on August 21st of 2024, I inspected the subject property, observing the wrought iron side gate and fencing rusted and in need of paint, the wood columns along the walkway to the front door in need of repair and paint, and trash cans stored on the driveway. The following day, notification was mailed to the property owner advising of the code violations and providing 3 days to relocate the trash cans, and 30 days to abate the remaining violations or contact staff with a time frame. From October 1st, 2024 through February 4th, 2025, 4 additional notices were mailed with the additional observation of a lack of landscape maintenance on October 1st and no contact from the property owner. On February 11th, the property was posted for public hearing, and the following day I received a phone call from the property owner. She advised that she had had some personal things going on and asked for an extension through April. I explained that if a resolution was adopted, it would give 30 days due to the fact that that's the maximum amount of time that we can put on a resolution. However, I will work with her beyond that time frame now that we have communication from her. Inspection of the property yesterday revealed compliance on the trash cans and the landscape maintenance only. Staff is recommending a resolution on this property to ensure compliance. This concludes my report, and I'd be happy to answer any questions.
Thank you. Any questions or comments from the commissioners?
No.
All right. Okay, if anyone's here on this item, please come up. I don't believe we have anyone on any of the items tonight, so I'll close public hearing session. Staff recommendation, please.
Yes, Madam Chair, before you is resolution number PPC 2025-08, a resolution of the Cerritos Property Preservation Commission finding that the property located in the 16,700 block of Sampan Circle, Cerritos, constitutes a property nuisance as set forth in Chapter 6.20 of the Cerritos Municipal Code and setting forth a 30-day abatement period therein. It would be in order to waive and adopt.
Is there a motion to adopt?
A second.
Thank you. We'll take a vote.
Four zero, the motion passes.
Thank you. Item 6B, next one on the list. Review and consideration of a case sent before the Property Preservation Commission, Conditions constituting property nuisance, including trash cans stored in public view, debris stored in public view, and a lack of adequate ground cover as defined in Cerritos Municipal Code Chapter 6.20 exist at the property located on the 17900 block of Antonio Avenue. Staff report, please.
Yes, Madam Chair, that case will be presented to you by Officer Brian Lane. Brian?
Chair and members of the Commission. On May 11, 2024, staff inspected a property in the 17900 block of Antonio Avenue, observing artificial turf being removed from the parkways and being replaced with sod. Staff spoke to the contractor at the property, who stated restoring the parkway to live vegetation was a condition of the permit for the ADU. An inspection on May 20, 2024 revealed sod installed in both parkways. Inspections between June 17, 2024 and December 16, 2024 revealed the sod dead in both parkways and trash cans on the driveway. 3 notifications were mailed. On December 20, 2024, staff received a complaint of a vehicle parked on the lawn. An inspection revealed the vehicle parked on the lawn, and staff requested parking control to cite the vehicle. On January 6, 2025, the letter to the owner was returned undeliverable by the post office. An inspection on January 13, 2025 revealed no compliance, and a final notification was mailed. On February 4, 2025, an inspection revealed no compliance with the additional observation of debris visible through the south gate. On February 11, 2025, the property was posted for public hearing. On February 19, 2025, the owner contacted staff and stated he was planning to replace the sod in the parkways. However, the tenant had nowhere else to store the trash cans other than the area behind the south gate due to the property being an ADU and having 2 entrances. Staff advised the owner to contact community development regarding approval for a solid screening material for the south gate. An inspection day revealed sod installed on the parkways. However, trash cans and debris were still visible through the south gate. Staff recommendation on this property is to adopt a resolution to ensure full compliance. This completes my report, and I'd be happy to answer any questions.
Thank you, Officer. Any comments or questions?
Yes. I was talking offline before this case was present, and this owner contacted me, and he's willing to work with, he's ready to work with the city ordinance, and he needs some time. As a ADU, as we talk, there has to be some extra parking permit issued. Definitely, because once we give the ADU permission, we don't know how many cars are there. So we need to work on that one also. And whom he can contact to get this visibility of the debris and all those things, since he called me and exactly explained me, and I visited this place also.
Be happy to answer that. Regarding the ADU parking, that is something in contact with me personally at the Community Safety Office, and you have my number if you can extend that to him, or if you have his number, I'll be happy to call him.
Okay.
But as we mentioned before, if you have an ADU and it occupies the property, that there is provisions to allow for additional parking there. And so that would be taken into consideration. I don't know if that's woven into the Cerritos Municipal Code because ADUs are relatively new, so I don't know if that's defined in there, but our policy and practice is that they would be entitled to parking.
Okay.
Because at the end of the day, that is their residence, so that's part of the residence. So we consider that.
Absolutely.
Yes. Anyone else?
I do.
Okay.
Yes, when I went by there on Sunday, it ended up the owner was out there, and we had a very extensive, extremely pleasant and interesting and informational conversation about the fact that I could see some of the stuff had been taken care of, the sod and all of that. But he's had, which Brian, I believe you've had a number of communications with him, at least he said.
I've spoken with the owner one time.
Just
and the
once,
contractor
okay.
one time.
And some of those, at least one of the notices, he never got, but he understands, and he's definitely wants to do what he needs to do. Because I said, "Oh, where is?" He says, "ADU." I said, "Oh, is there something in the back?" No, it's where what had been a single-family home. I mean, I would talk with him probably for half an hour, and single-family home, which one side has 1 bedroom, and then the rest of the house is a 3-bedroom house. And so part of it, and it's a 2-car garage, which is all it had to be for that house. And the house has been there for a while. And so he had a number of things. He's had a really hard time. He's been dealing, let's put it this way, the county, the fire department, the city, different entities within the city, and that the address of the original house is what's listed here. The ADU is that number with an A. And finally, he got that by the county, but then some records show it. And I think that's why the letter, at least one of them, wasn't getting to him. Okay. Pardon? Right. And in fact, he actually lives just a couple blocks from there, where he actually resides and owns that property as well. So I tried to, explain some things to him, and it was very receptive and explaining. And then the thing with the parking issue. So it's a 2-car garage. The one, I guess the ADU with the smaller unit is occupied now. Is that correct, Brian? I think so. Maybe
When I
not.
spoke to
I'm
him,
not
it
sure.
sounded like both were occupied when I spoke
Pardon?
to him. It sounded like both units were occupied. when I
Both.
spoke.
Okay. When I was there, I think it was his car that might have been the owner's in the driveway. The garage was empty. From the look of the garage, it was empty, except for a washer, a dryer, and a water heater. So I couldn't tell if anything was occupied or not. But that he needs, certainly somebody who's renting the more what I call house part, the 3-bedroom, he said would probably have 2 cars. So that's fine. And then I know like 2 cars there, you can park 2 cars in the driveway. But was explaining if the other person with the smaller unit parks in the driveway, then they may be blocking the cars of the people the other. And I said, well, if you meet the requirements, and not knowing how ADUs are handled compared with when it's a whole, that house would just be occupied as a house, because they would need 5 vehicles registered at that house to get, minimum 5, to get a street parking permit. When you said you don't think it's in the code, when I got home, I started searching through the municipal code and the development code about ADUs, and it's hard to find anything in there. In fact, there's parts that actually conflict with each other. So I think the code needs some updating as well. So he definitely wants to get this all taken care of, and he understands that there are only certain kind, because I talked about the kind of material, the type, that the material has to be opaque enough, not specific materials to block. I said, like you said, he can have the stuff behind the fencing, the gate, I guess it's fence and gates. And since it's much older stuff, it's very wide. And he understands, and he has gone, either has gone or was going to go, because this was just Sunday, to the planning, because he's been talking to Metre in planning. So there's been a lot of communication there. What can I do to block the view from behind? So he has been in touch with a number of people in the city, the county, the fire department, because that had to do with parking. So that, like I said, had a very extensive, very lovely conversation with him. It's really nice. My question is, what is the regulation for the requirement for an ADU for parking? Because I only know about what it says in the city code, the municipal code, section 22 point something and that mostly addresses, because I think what most of us think of as an ADU is another structure in the back, and there's a maximum amount of size it can be in 1 bedroom and either 1,000 or 1,200 square feet, I forget. And that there would be a parking space, and I don't know what the definition is, space for 1 car. So that's really all he's looking for. But what can he do with that? I did not have that answer.
Thank you for the question. And yes, and as you know, ADUs are subordinate to the main property. It's not like a duplex where there's going to be different titles, right? So it's still one property with an ADU as opposed to 2 separate properties and title and that sort of thing. So that being said, the homeowner, the property owner, if you will, is going to be on the account for getting parking permits. And the reason why that is as you know, every resident is entitled to 30 free parking permits. And it's to the household, not to the individuals. So if you had 6 people living there, it wouldn't be 6 times 30. It's 1 household, 30 days. But in a case like this, we would accommodate the parking request. And again, depending on where the ADU is, if it's in the backyard, and you're right, the lot has to be a certain amount. But if it's in the garage, obviously you can't park your car in the garage. We would, and so there's variations of how they have it. But let's just say for a moment it's in the garage. We'd still require them to park on the driveway, the pad, as 2 spots, right? 'Cause-
Actually, let me disturb you over here. When I had a discussion, we had a discussion. I had 12 people in my home at one time,
Mhm.
and they says you have to park 2 car in the garage.
Mhm. So
That I don't know about. I says, I do not want to argue on that one because I don't know. But that is the requirement was telling me by your office over there when I went for the parking permit.
and I will have to educate him on that because typically, in fact, the requirement
We
is
have to educate them very well because a lot of complaints are there in the
Mhm.
market.
okay. It's the first I've heard, but I
No,
will be happy
people
to
are
educate.
afraid because something happened
Mhm.
and says we do not want to because we're gonna live entire life in this city and we do not want to have any argument with the city.
That
But
will,
one day, once some lawyer or anybody come,
Mhm.
the city has a big problem. That's why we will need to educate and clarify everything.
yes, I completely agree. And I reviewed the city's webpage, and on the webpage, the instructions are there along with a diagram on how the city counts parking within a garage. So typically, a 2-car garage, it's expected that 1 car would be parked in a 2-car garage, and one of those spaces you can use for anything you like, right? Workout gym, storage, whatever you want. But in theory, if you have a 2-car garage, for the way the parking permit is required, 1 car would be inside the garage, 2 cars would be parked on the pad, if you would, the driveway. That's 3. The 4th car would receive the permit, and then the 5th car would receive the permit. But if you have an ADU and it's in the garage, then obviously that does not count. But it comes back
So that's
to,
part of the
and we always,
homeowners association.
like I said, there are special circumstance permits. And as we mentioned earlier, people have now for the fires, people coming in from the
Altadena
impacted
fire.
areas where they're at,
Yep.
Altadena or different places. We are accommodating those people openly, no questions asked. They just get a special parking permit for 6 months. Like we mentioned, sometimes you have in the summertime, you have people who at universities, they're away at college, and they come back for
Yes.
3 months. You have people on military leave. There's all kinds of reasons why you do that. A special circumstance, people in transit for jobs. And that's why we have a special circumstance parking permit. So we review that. And then sometimes it depends on how liberal we are, depending on where you live. If you're at the end of a cul-de-sac and you have a very short curb in front of your home,
Mm.
as opposed to some people live on the corner and then they have a street where there's no frontage and nobody cares who they park. We get friction, and like I talk to people all the time. We represent everybody. We represent the people who apply. We represent the neighbors. We represent everybody. So sometimes people will come and complain that, hey, the neighbor is parking in front of my house. I can never park here, and we have to explain to them it's a public street. We are careful about how we issue these parking permits. But anytime that someone lives here, they have a legitimate need, and it's not going to negatively impact the neighbors, without reservation, we just grant it, because it's good business and it's good for the neighborhood. We don't do that openly if it's going to cause a lot of friction in the neighborhood where
Of course.
somebody says, hey, you know what, this is causing a lot of drama for me. You're accommodating them, but you're negatively impacting me. So we take those into considerations depending on where you live. But generally, the default setting is we always try to accommodate everybody to the greatest degree possible as long as it's not impacting on somebody else. Comes back with 12 people, depending on where that street is. We may request the people, hey, is it possible for you to park at the end of the street because we are receiving complaints from neighbors? Some people are very neighborly and they want to cooperate. Some people, renters or something, they could care less and, they cause a little more friction. But openly, like I mentioned, if there's any special circumstances, we have a special circumstance permit just for that.
Let me update you on that one. I'm sorry,
Mhm.
but in the special circumstances, they says that car has to be registered under that address only. Then we will issue the permit. That was the information I was given
Mhm.
by your office.
And I will educate them on that.
I'm sorry, but that's not acceptable. And if we need to do something to address this one, we should move forward because there are a lot of issue and I hear a lot of things.
Yes, that's not required to have a special circumstances permit. And the reason why is you could move here tomorrow and none of your information is here. You'd still at your last address. You haven't notified DMV. You're waiting for the DMV update. Then we would issue special circumstances permit. So it sounds like to me, we need to educate someone. We do have someone in our office who is a temporary employee, who's a contract worker. They're not a city employee.
I don't think so. I know I seen her before too. So definitely we need to educate that department.
And we will do that. I'll make sure that happens. But just so you know, the policies and procedures allow for all that. Somebody is not understanding that, and I will make sure that that's briefed tomorrow morning.
Thank you. Anything else? All right. Is there a staff recommendation, please?
Yes, before you is resolution resolution PPC number 2025-9, a resolution of the Cerritos Property Preservation Commission finding that the property located in the 17,900 block of Antonio Avenue, Cerritos, constitutes a property nuisance as set forth in 6.20 of the Cerritos Municipal Code and setting forth a 21-day abatement period therein. It would be in order to waive further reading and adopt. And as mentioned and discussed here, we always want to work with the homeowner, and we do that. These fines are never imposed unless we get noncompliance. And so what a resolution does is allow the city to work with the individuals, but should they choose not to uphold their end or comply with the city's municipal code, then we can move forward without bringing the matter back toward Property Preservation Commission. But again, it's your discretion. Thank you.
Thank you. Is there a motion to adopt?
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
Thank you.
Four zero, the motion passes.
Thank you. Moving on to item 6C. Review and consideration of a case sent before the Property Preservation Commission. Conditions constituting property nuisance, including a lack of landscape maintenance and a lack of adequate ground cover as defined in Cerritos Municipal Code Chapter 6.20 exist at the property located on the 18300 block of Laurelbrook Circle. Staff report, please.
Yes, Madam Chair, that case will be presented to you by Officer Brian Lane. Brian?
Chair and members of the commission. On September 12, 2024, after receiving a complaint, staff inspected a property in the 18300 block of Laurelbrook Circle, observing the front yard and parkway lacking ground cover. On the same date, a notification was left at the property advising of the code violation and providing 21 days to abate the violation. An inspection on October 28, 2024 revealed no compliance with the additional observation of a lack of landscape maintenance, and a second notification was mailed. Inspections between December 16, 2024 and January 13, 2025 revealed no compliance with the additional observation of dead palm fronds on the palm tree in the front yard. 2 additional notifications were mailed. An inspection on February 4th, 2025 revealed the palm fronds pruned and mulch and some planting done in the parkway and front yard. However, there were still landscape maintenance and ground cover issues and no approved plan for the landscape changes. On February 11th, 2025, the property was posted for PPC. On February 12th, 2025, the owner contacted staff and stated he was planning on changing the ground cover on the front yard. Staff advised him that he would need to submit a plan to community development. On February 21st, 2025, the owner called and stated he submitted a landscape plan to community development. An inspection today revealed no compliance and no approved landscape plan on file. Staff recommendation on this property is to adopt a resolution to ensure compliance. This completes my report, and I'd be happy to answer any questions.
Thank you, Officer. Any comments or questions from commissioners?
No.
Staff recommendation, please.
Yes, Madam Chair. Before you is resolution number PPC 2025-10, a resolution of the Cerritos Property Preservation Commission finding that the property located in the 18,300 block of Laurelbrook Circle, Cerritos, constitutes a property nuisance as set forth in Chapter 6.20 of the Cerritos Municipal Code and setting forth a 21-day abatement period therein. It would be appropriate to waive further reading and adopt.
Is there a motion to adopt?
So moved.
I'll second.
Thank you.
4-0, the motion passes.
Thank you. All right, item 6D. Review and consideration of a case sent before the Property Preservation Commission. Conditions constituting property nuisance, including lack of adequate ground cover as defined in Cerritos Municipal Code Chapter 6.20, exist at the property located on the 13700 block of Oak Crest Drive in Cerritos. Staff report, please.
Yes, Madam Chair, that case will be presented to you by Officer Brian Lane. Brian?
Chair and members of the commission, after posting the property, the owner's daughter contacted staff and advised she was not aware the city had been sending notices to her father and that she would have the landscape issues taken care of. An inspection today revealed workers working on the property and substantial progress on the front yard with work on the irrigation system ongoing and sod set to be installed tomorrow. Therefore, staff recommendation on this property is to not adopt a resolution.
All right, thank you. Then we'll move along to item 6E.
Yes, Madam Chair, that case will also be presented by Brian Lane. Brian?
Should I read the description first? That's okay. All right, item 6E. Review and consideration of a case sent before the Property Preservation Commission. Conditions constituting property nuisance, including a trailer stored in public view as defined in Cerritos Municipal Code Chapter 6.20, exist at the property located on the 13300 block of Samora Place, Cerritos. Staff report, please.
Yes, Madam Chair, now would be appropriate for me to inform the panel that that case will be presented by Officer Lane. Brian?
Chair and members of the commission, after having the trailer cited twice for parking on the lawn, speaking to the resident and sending them 2 notices, and posting the property for a public hearing, an inspection today revealed the trailer removed from the property. Therefore, staff recommendation on this property is to not adopt a resolution.
I have a question.
Thank you. I believe we have a question.
I have a question. I saw that it's gone. On the west side, behind the gate or fencing, there's I don't know what to call it, like a patio cover, something. Is that permitted to where it is as far west as it goes?
You know, that's been there for quite some time.
Oh, I could tell.
Yeah, so that would be something we'd have to follow up with the planning department on.
Okay.
Yeah,
No,
it's
it
been
looks very old.
Yeah, it's been there for quite a while, and that is just a tenant-occupied property. So that might be something that the owner had done quite a while ago. It's nothing
Okay.
that's been real recent.
Just
though.
curious, because I know in how recent year, less than even not terribly recent, something like that would, to that size and location, would never be permitted. Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Item 6F. Review and consideration of a case sent before the Property Preservation Commission. Conditions constituting property nuisance, including an inoperable vehicle stored in public view as defined in Cerritos Municipal Code Chapter 6.20, exist at the property located on the 13,000 block of Caravelle Street, Cerritos. Staff report, please.
Yes, Madam Chair, that case will be presented to you by Officer Darnell Jerry. Darnell?
Chair and members of the commission, on July 24th, 2024, staff inspected a property at the 13,000th block of Caravelle Street, observing an inoperable vehicle in the driveway on the property. A notification was left at the property, providing 10 days to remedy the violation. August 5th, 2024, an inspection of the property revealed no compliance, and a second notification was mailed. August 24th as well, an inspection of the property revealed no compliance, and a third observation was mailed. Between the dates of September 9th and November 21st, 3 more inspections revealed no compliance without any communication from the property owner. February 11th, the property was posted for PPC. An inspection today revealed again that the violation was still present. This completes my report, and I'd be happy to answer any questions.
Any questions or comments? Right. Staff recommendation, please.
Yes, Madam Chair, before you is resolution number PPC 2025-13, a resolution of the Cerritos Property Preservation Commission finding that the property located in the 13,000 block of Caravelle Street, Cerritos, constitutes a property nuisance as set forth in Chapter 6.20 of the Cerritos Municipal Code and setting forth a 10-day abatement period therein. It would be in order to waive further reading and adopt.
Is there a motion to adopt?
I'll second.
Thank you.
4-0, the motion passes.
Thank you. I believe those are all the items on the public hearing for tonight. Do we have any report from staff?
Yes, Madam Chair, just have one thing for you. Tomorrow morning at 10 a.m., council will be dedicating a memorial to first responders that they have installed here in front of the Cerritos Sheriff Station. And if your schedule allows, or anyone who might be home who would like to come by and witness the dedication tomorrow at 10 a.m., they are invited to do so. And of course, we acknowledge the City Council for taking the time to recognize the sacrifices made by the fire, sheriff's department, and all first responders, and to memorialize their effort here in front of the Cerritos Station. It's a beautiful memorial, and I encourage everyone to take a look at it as time permits.
Thank you. Anything from the commissioners?
I guess I have a request probably for all of us. Can we get a printout of the statistics page, or do you have them with you by any chance?
Yes, ma'am. Well, I'll be happy to provide that to you tomorrow.
Great. Oh, okay. Is there a way, maybe I could pick it up, because I don't want to just, I like your color version and I can't do that at home. So,
Yes,
Okay.
I can email to you, and I can provide you with a color copy as well.
no,
Perfect.
Can we-
emailing it to me doesn't get me a color copy. That's
I can provide it to you right after this meeting within 5 minutes.
that would be, that
I
was
can
my
find
point.
it.
Just emailing it doesn't work for me, because
Yes,
I like to have
as soon
that
as
in
I get to my
color.
office and print you a copy.
No, that's fine. It doesn't have to be that fast.
But can
I
we
thought
find
maybe
it on
you
the
had a-
website? Online?
Yeah, but it doesn't give me a
I'm just
piece of.
asking.
Oh,
Yeah.
I don't think so.
The actual presentation will be uploaded and become part of the agenda as well.
okay.
So all the public
Oh.
can
All right.
view it online.
Okay, thank you.
I don't have a
then
color
I don't
printer.
Need it
Yeah.
email.
I don't have a color printer too.
Yeah, but I don't need an email then if I could find it.
Just email is fine.
And just to remind anybody who may be watching, although that box in a few minutes today's the last day to vote in a special election on the state Senate seat, but city election, you have until a week from today at 8 p.m. to vote. So if you haven't voted yet, one of the easy ways is to do it in a drop box here or by Cerritos Park East, or put it in a regular mailbox, or you can hand deliver it during the hours that are listed within the ballot information at City Hall.
Thank you for that. Yes, everyone go vote, please. With anything else from staff or commissioners? No? All right, thank you so much. Meeting is adjourned.